Let me tell you a story about a young man that came into my office one day. He was a member of my church. He was in college, and during spring break, he had worked as a construction worker for a general contractor. And at the end of the week, the general contractor didn't have the money to pay him for his work. It was about $300. And to make matters worse, the general contractor also went to the same church. We were all part of the same church family. Well, the young man comes in and he's pretty upset. He's owed $300 and he's not getting his money. And so he's saying things like, this is the same as theft. I've been abused. Why didn't he tell me at the beginning? And I let the guy go on for about 10 minutes, but after a while it was clear that it wasn't helping him just to vent. And that's when I made my mistake, because I looked right at him and said, you know, you could forgive the debt. That's what Jesus would do. And he shouts back at me immediately, well, I'm not Jesus. Now, my mistake wasn't in suggesting a perfectly biblical solution to forgive the debt. My mistake was in framing it as such a way as to suggest that this young man could imitate Jesus or be like Jesus. And this story illustrates the heart of what we have to get settled before we try to progress in a life of being a disciple. And that is it possible to be like Jesus? In fact, you could try this in your small group or in your classroom or your congregation. Ask the people that are assembled, how many of you think that Jesus is a worthy role model? And nearly every hand will go up. But if you follow it up immediately with the question, how many of you think that it's possible to live up to his example? Nearly every hand will go down. And this creates tension. This creates a conflict. Because who wants to have as their mentor someone that's impossible to live up to? Here is the heart of discipleship. How do we see our calling as followers of Jesus? What is the purpose of God's work in our life? Is it so that we can go to heaven when we die? So that we can have our sins forgiven? Or just maybe, is it possible that the goal of the Christian life is to become conformed to the image of his Son? Well, that's what I believe. And that's the question that we have to settle before we go into any of the practices of discipleship. What's my destiny? What's my calling? And can I be conformed to the image of Christ?